All right, hello, Chevra. There's been a video that's been going around the Jewish internet, got a bit viral, I guess, and I think was actually taken down after going viral, but people know how to download videos from YouTube, so it was uploaded in other places, where there was a woman at a meeting in Rockville Centre, which is in Nassau County, Long Island, near the South Shore, not too far from the Five Towns. And she was, pretty much saying that, well, it could happen here. This Rockville Centre could turn into the Five Towns. She grew up in Woodmere, and she's afraid that Rockville Centre could turn into Woodmere. And so therefore, she'd like to get a, something of the laws should be changed to prevent any new houses of worship in a residential area. I think there's a difference between a residential area and a residence, but even with that being said, there's a lot to discuss there. So, a lot of people are accusing her of being anti-Semitic. I think I've explained in other videos that this term anti-Semitism is rather a strange term, to say the least. First of all, the term anti-Semitism is a term that I would say racializes, or ethnicizes if you want to say, but really racializes from the idea of race, the Jewish identity. And for that reason, I prefer not to use that term, because Jews are people of all races. Judaism is, as we use that term, for sure is a religion. Now, there can be, and there really is no such thing as a Jewish identity that's totally devoid of anything religious. Meaning you could be Jewish and not be religious. At least by Jewish law, I would really prefer to say you could be a non-Gentile. I don't really think you can actually be Jewish and not be religious. But you couldn't be someone who could, theoretically, if they would care to say such a thing and they believed such a thing, within the terms of our liturgy, recite our liturgy. And I won't get into all the details of that aspect of the liturgy thing. It's something I was going to say. But nonetheless, there are ideas in Jewish law that would say that a person, even if their mother is Jewish, if they touch, but if they're not observant, they wantonly and openly desecrate the Sabbath. They don't celebrate the Sabbath in any way, that they would be considered to have certain laws of Judaism not apply to them, meaning they're obligated to keep all the laws of Judaism, but they don't get any of the privileges of Judaism. Meaning to say, if they were to touch wine that was not pasteurized, the wine is not kosher. If they were, and really, they also shouldn't count in a minyan if they're a man. So, nonetheless, they're obligated to repent and come back to Judaism in a way that someone who's not born Jewish has no obligation to convert to Judaism. They can choose whether they want to become Jewish or keep the 7 laws of Noah. And some even say that under this rubric of the 7 laws of Noah, there's a certain level of tolerance for the existence of other religions within that rubric, or even people who maybe don't follow the religious aspects of the 7 laws of Noah could still be considered pious and righteous among the other nations within the realm of Jewish law. So I don't like this term anti-Semitism, and I think this particular case demonstrates that, because this woman, she said, this is not about religion. We have plenty of nice Reformed Jews here in Rockville Centre. Which is really equivalent of saying, I don't have a problem with Christians. We have a lot of nice Protestant churches here in Rockville Centre. It's those Catholics, which I understand, of course, Rockville Centre is the diocese of pretty much everything on Long Island. And Nassau and Suffolk are under the diocese of Rockville Centre, which is I think the 8th largest diocese in the United States from the Roman Catholic Church. But you understand, that's when you say these Jews are okay, but these Jews are not okay. It's like saying these Christians are okay and these Christians are not okay, It could be the other way around, because it's a very Catholic area. It's, the Catholic Church is welcome here, but the Protestants are not welcome here. Or the Greek Orthodox, the Russian Orthodox are not welcome here. Because they're schismatics or whatever, according to, which of course nowadays the Roman Church doesn't say that, it doesn't emphasize it as much as they used to. But in a certain sense, that's what they're saying. What this woman is saying is, those Jews are okay, the Reformed Jews are okay, but it's the Orthodox Jews that are the problem. And the interesting thing is, of course, the 5 towns are predominantly modern Orthodox, or if you do have the Haredi element, it tends to be the more moderate Haredi form, the ones that are supposed to be, politely accepted in the gentleman's agreement. And nonetheless, this is seen to be some kind of a big threat. So one thing I want to say about this particular case is that the home that she's referring to is not operating as a synagogue, and it's not even there to attract Orthodox Jews to move to the area. When she's describing a house that has a menorah on the lawn, that is invariably a Chabad house. And I looked up this Chabad house. They don't even have it listed, their address. And they don't have any services advertised. So I don't think they have a minyan there. Most likely what they have there, what all they advertise there, is that they have a Friday night meal that is open to people to come and join and share with them. And that is the extent to which they're operating any kind of a ministry. And as I mentioned, the Chabad houses in generally are there to minister to Jews who are not observant, and welcome them and teach them more about this particular form of Judaism, the Chabad Hasidic community, and also in general of doing mitzvos. That's a major thing that they emphasize. They have a missionary work they call mivtzoyim, which means a mission, to have Jewish men put on tefillin every day, to have Jewish women light Shabbos candles, and mostly we're talking about people who are not observant, because an observant a Jewish man doesn't need to be told to put on tefillin every day. An observant Jewish woman doesn't need to be told, and it's kind of a mission to try to bring people back into Judaism. They also do a lot of other good work, like drug rehab work and so forth, which they actually, most of the Chabad drug rehab programs are non-sectarian. They help anybody, Jew or Gentile, who are looking for a religious drug rehab program that is not pushing really a particular religion. Because it's well known that the religious drug rehab programs are much more successful than the secular ones. And so that's part of the story there. And they do a lot of other nice things. and if they can get together a minyan, it's nice. But if they can't, most of these places, what they would call a Chabad house, are more for outreach, especially for college students, families. They might have some sort of a Hebrew school. And I think this particular one, as I'm looking into it, his brother has a Chabad house in the next town over. I think he's had it for a while in the Island Park, in that area. I know one of my Rebbeim was a Rav in Island Park, actually the conservative shul, but non-affiliated egalitarian shul. Very Orthodox Hasidic rabbi, a Breslover Chassid, very starker Breslover Chassid. But in any event, it could very well be that if they would be Makar of someone, they want to make a bar mitzvah or something, they'd probably bring it to the brother who has an existing operation there, or maybe they rent out a space in a hotel or something. I don't even know if this rabbi has a Sefer Torah, or anything. So that's essentially what we're dealing with. And in Rockville Centre, there is a Reform synagogue and a conservative synagogue. So I think the Reform is actually a mix of Reform and Reconstructionist, because it's listed on both communities. But I think this is the most damning part of, excuse the word, of this presentation, when this woman made it sound like the Reform, they're okay. I mean, you can't say that. Just the same, you can't say you can say whatever you want, but I'm saying it's not acceptable, legally, to discriminate against one group over another. Now, with that being said, I can share the feeling of trying to prevent synagogues from operating out of homes, particularly run by lay people. We have the problem in our community. Our rabbi here in White Lake, he's been here for 50 years, Meiser Nefesh for Yiddishkeit, and then doing a lot of kiruv and doing a lot of holy work. And then from people, they move in and they're too lazy to walk to shul, and they have their own Sifrei Torah. I'm talking about balabatim, lay people. This fellow, I think he's a repairman for appliances. Now, he needs some kind of a license to be a repairman, to be an appliance repairman. But so what right does he have to open a synagogue? Whereas our rabbi is smicha. I have smicha. I'm a member of the Igad Rabbonim and a few other organizations, New York Board of Rabbis. Other one, the one that broke off from the Igad Rabbonim, what's that called? Rabbinical Union of America. I'm a member of the Chaplaincy Task Force and a few other organizations. So, what are we talking about here? So that's a little bit what the story is. So on one hand, all right, technically she's not being anti-Semitic, because she's saying that the Reform Jews are okay, right? Who are fellow Semites, Yosemites, Yosemite. But it's the Orthodox Jews she wants to keep out, because they're going to take over the school board, and they're going to this and that, and she said this couldn't happen because the diocese is here, and now the diocese is falling apart. Maybe if you care about the diocese, maybe, and I don't know if this woman's Catholic or not, but maybe if she sent her kids to Catholic school instead of to public school, the diocese wouldn't be falling apart. I think it's a shanda for the Catholics. I feel bad for them that the yeshivas have more students than the Catholic schools. That's not what I'm Jewish. I'm a rabbi, but I'm saying, I'm pretty sure there's more Catholics in New York State than there are Jews. Even though there's a lot of Jews in New York State, it's not not as many in New York City. There's far more Catholics, yet the yeshivas are doing better than the Catholic schools. That's not our fault. We didn't do that to them. They did it to themselves. The Catholic schools have to push more to get their kids to go to Catholic school. The same thing. Muslim kids should push. Kids should go to madrasa. If you want to keep your identity, you want your community to be strong. The Catholics knew for years that education is the key to that. If you don't have the proper education, you're not going to have a future for your community. So I work with the Russian Orthodox, not Russian Orthodox, OCA, Orthodox Church of America. They have a seminary and they come work, they do internships with us in the prison. And I tell them, I said, you need to open a school, even if it's a few kids. Well, your kids, the priests are here in the seminary. You gotta have a school for your kids. You can't send your kids to the public schools if you want your kids to follow in your footsteps. It's hard enough when the kids go to the religious schools, but it's almost impossible with the kind of brainwashing that goes on in the public schools and the abuse and all kinds of things that go on in the public schools. So, so-called schools, I don't really consider them to be schools. I consider public so-called schools to be brainwashing and abuse factories. So, and it's a shame. We're forced to pay for this with our taxes. The kind of evil that goes on in these communist camps that they call the public schools. Anyway, that's the story. If anything, you would think, like in a place like Woodmere, right? If the public schools are so empty, they're collecting all this school tax and everything, you would think that means there's more money for each kid, because everybody's paying school taxes, and now there's more money for each kid in the Woodmere. I don't know if they have a school district in Woodmere, I don't know, whatever it is, those kids probably getting a lot more. They have a lot more opportunities because they have smaller classrooms. It's always better a smaller classroom. Instead of having 30 kids in the class, you have 10 kids in the class. That's the best thing for the kids. If you believe public schooling is of any value, which it really isn't now. We see what's going on with all the garbage, with the CRT and the gender and all that, which is really designed for one thing. It's for a Marxist revolution. It's not really even about the race or the gender identity or anything else. It's about turning kids away from their parents in order to start a Marxist revolution. That's what's really come down to. And this is all very well known. But in any event, these are the things to consider with this particular story. That is the thing that she's attacking. It's not what she thinks. You don't see a big influx of the Jews leaving 5 towns, moving to Rockville Centre. I don't know if the property values. That's the other thing. That's the craziest thing from the story. Is she said, when the Jews move to a new neighborhood, the property values shoot sky high. Right? Is that a bad thing? I mean, I guess you want to call that gentrification. It's not there goes the neighborhood. It's is that what we're talking about here? I don't know. Is that so? And the truth is, just knowing these different communities. Like I grew up in New Hyde Park, where you have one Orthodox synagogue, you have the Eruv, you have a little kosher pizza shop, and it's not like a huge, and you even have a day school, right? You have our Torah, and you don't really have much of a, much of a big frum Jewish community. It's a medium-sized shul, very nice shul, and as is this, that's what you have. So to say that this is meaning I'm saying even if you had a shul like Young Israel of New Hyde Park there in Rockville Centre, it's not going to change the neighborhood that much. Because again, I don't see tons of people moving. Because it's too expensive in Brooklyn, or you want a little bit more space, whatever. Moving to New Hyde Park, you have the doctors who go to do their internship or their residency at LIJ, and then they move on. So you have like a big turnaround, but that's what you have. You don't have a lot of people. It's a nice shul, very nice community, but that's what you have. So these types of things. The same thing, Richmond, Virginia. I lived in Richmond, Virginia. I was a Rav in Richmond, Virginia. I was a Rav in the Young Israel. And it was the same type of thing. Like, they had an Erev, they had a few mikvahs. Nothing really going on. It was never there goes the neighborhood moment. Patterson Avenue, you have a few shuls. There never was a there goes the neighborhood. Right? So I'm thinking, because Rockville Centre is right near the five towns, so the five towns will bleed into Rockville Centre the way that I think now Williamsburg is bleeding into was it Bed-Stuy? It's right there or something. So very nice. That's just I guess I'll get gas over here, fill up. So that's what we're talking about here. What do you think? I mean, again, I don't think it's anti-Semitic, but it borders on anti-Orthodox bigotry. It borders on that. But the thing is people should know that it doesn't happen all the time. These changes that happen in some of these communities is not as common as you think. There's a certain mazel. I don't know. So, they tried in the Satmar, tried in Bayswater, and it didn't really take off, So, it's still a nice, from community, Bayswater, but I'm just saying the Satmar and Bayswater didn't really take off. So, that's the story. Well, whatever it is. And I understand even Rabbi Shapiro, I think, close to Shul, which is a shame. He's a Choshev Rav, Rabbi Shapiro, Tito Fasach. And what we're dealing with now in White Lake, there's not enough room for 2 minyanim. We're fighting. There's someone it's an attack on the Shul, destroying the community. All right, thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment, and we'll see you all later.